Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
Okay. Good morning to everyone. My name is Lauren Lopsch, and I work for the CMS Convention on Migratory Species. And today I'd like to welcome you all to our event on preserving the world's biodiversity heritage. We are here today to celebrate the importance of creating synergies between these two planetary elements, climate and biodiversity. And in recognizing these synergies, we create the opportunity to come together and create opportunities for collaboration between different organizations that share the same goals in terms of biodiversity conservation. So that's what we'll be doing today exactly. We'll be exploring ways to create these synergies, and we'll be going through some of the great work that's being done by the Emirate of Abu Dhabi, by the United Nations Convention on Migratory Species, and also by the International Climate Initiative of Germany. So let me have the pleasure of introducing to you our panel of speakers today. We have Ms. Maitha Al-Hameli, the section head of the Marine Biodiversity Assessment and Conservation Unit of the Environment Agency of Abu Dhabi. We have Ms. Ruba Abouatier, Executive Coordinator of the United Nations Environment Program Convention on Migratory Species, specifically the office based in Abu Dhabi. We have Ms. Yasmin Telwala, who is our project manager of a very interesting project on seagrass ecosystem services that's managed out of the CMS office in Abu Dhabi. And last but not least, we have Dr. Philippe Behrens, who is the head of the International Climate Initiative. So welcome to all of our panelists, and let's jump into our discussion. I'd like us to start first by going a bit over the UAE's vision and role in terms of biodiversity and climate synergies. So, Maitha, I turn to you first. Could you tell us a bit about how Abu Dhabi's cultural heritage is playing a role in preserving the world's biodiversity, and specifically, how is EAD's work addressing biodiversity and climate synergies?
First of all, Lauren, thank you for inviting me for this panel discussion. Biodiversity is quite rooted in our culture and our heritage. We're quite a young nation that was relying so much on biodiversity and nature to survive in an arid area. So culturally, the biodiversity is very significant to us, be it habitat or wildlife. So we do have a rich history when it comes to a commitment to environment. We always say that Abu Dhabi's commitment to the environment, not only Abu Dhabi, but the UAE's commitment to the environment is in our DNA. It's rooted. It started way before the nation was born. It was started with His Highness, the late Sheikh Zayed, our founding father, who I think gave us quite a good blueprint to continue on. And we realized early on that it's important to work in conservation and focus on conservation. And I think our work with CMS is quite the token for that, because we do believe in collaboration. Collaboration when it comes to conservation is key. I think the Migratory Species Convention is also a token to the importance of working in collaboration. So given the importance of collaboration, I'll touch points on what we've been doing with CMS, for example. And it's quite outstanding work that we've been doing with CMS from Abu Dhabi. And what CMS has been doing from Abu Dhabi to the world is quite outstanding. We have the Raptors MOU, which focuses on birds of prey. And we have the Dugong MOU, which basically creates a hub for the world to look at dugongs, dugong conservation, dugong research, and dugong management across their range state. And we've been having a lot of talks with Africa and Asia and Australia about how to move forward with this. And I think this is key. Lauren, if we were working in silo, we wouldn't have reached where we have reached. And I think I'll end my answer by something I'm quite proud of that we have done with the CMS office is the dugong and seagrass research toolkit, which took our knowledge, CMS's knowledge, the knowledge of the experts, and packed well for the world to use as a point of reference. Whenever you want to work on dugongs, all you need to go is jump on that website, answer a few questions, and you will get the best practice on how to preserve and conserve dugongs. So, like I said, it is embedded in us, but we look at it from an international perspective. We work closely with the UN on a lot of conservation projects. I talked about the dugongs because I'm a marine scientist and I personally work on these projects, but there are a lot of programs. I mean, even out of CMS, we have the Oryx reintroduction program, so it really is embedded in us, and we do not want to hog it to ourselves. We want to make sure that we push the agenda internationally when it comes to conservation.
Yeah, thank you, Maitha. That's really interesting, and it shows us the vision that Abu Dhabi and EAD have in terms of conservation. And there's clearly an intention, and the UAE and Abu Dhabi, they are working to achieve international commitments, including under the United Nations and the Convention on Migratory Species. So that takes us to you, Ruba, from the Convention on Migratory Species. So climate change is said to impact migratory species. Could you tell us a bit about the work that your office is doing to address the challenge of climate change for raptors and dugongs and their habitats?
Yeah. First of all, thank you, Lauren, and Maitha too, as well, for sharing with us the experience of and the work, the excellent work, actually, of the Environment Agency Abu Dhabi. So the Environment Agency Abu Dhabi role on the protection of biodiversity is undeniable and multifaceted as well. Hosting the CMS and other international agreements as well. There are a few of so many, so thank you again for your leading role on that. And in my role as the executive coordinator of CMS, overseeing the implementation of the Raptors and Dugong MOU, I've witnessed a far-reaching consequences of climate change on biodiversity loss and migratory species globally. So speaking on the raptors side, so raptors facing unprecedented challenges due to rising temperatures and weather patterns as well, or unpredictable weather patterns. They are experiencing shift in their habitat, affecting the prey availability and nesting site suitability as well. So the Raptors Memorandum of Understanding with 61 signatory countries stand as a critical tool in our commitment to protecting these magnificent birds. Through collaborative efforts, research and conservation programs, we aim to mitigate the impacts of climate change on raptors, ensuring their long-term survival. Equally significant is the Dugong MOU, involving as well 27 signatory countries. This underscores the need for international cooperation, community engagement, and suitable solution to preserve the seagrass ecosystem and secure the survival of dugong. Recognizing our shared responsibility to safeguard ocean biodiversity amid climate change complexities, we contribute not only to the survival of this species, but also critically also to the overall health of and resilience of marine ecosystem, which plays such a vital role across the world. So today, I'm extremely delighted to announce a groundbreaking initiative, the 2030 Seagrass Breakthrough, spearheaded by my incredible CMS team in Abu Dhabi in collaboration with the UN High-Level Climate Champion. This initiative aimed to establish a collective framework for seagrass conservation worldwide, aligning with the global agenda such as the Sharm el-Sheikh Adaptation Agenda, Ocean, Race to Resilience, and Race to Zero. And seagrass, as you might know, it's an underappreciated ecosystem, holds immense potential, offering a triple win for climate, nature, and livelihood. So the initiative reflects our commitment to making a lasting impact on the preservation of our planet biodiversity. My colleague Yasmin as well will later delve into seagrass ecosystem services project that is supported by Germany, shedding light on its intricate relationship with climate change resilience. This project, with defined objective and collaborative efforts, aim to preserve seagrass habitat. So to close, I would urge us all really to seize this moment to collaborate, strengthen our partnership, advance shared objective, and elevate the global climate community's vision to unprecedented high. Together we can make a lasting impact on the preservation of our planet biodiversity. So thank you very much for listening, and back to you, Lauren.
Yeah, thank you, Ruba. That's very insightful, and it's nice and inspiring to see how CMS's work is speaking to the work of EAD, and how somehow they support and create a synergy because they have the same ambition and they're pursuing the same goals for biodiversity and protecting the natural heritage of our world. It's also very inspiring to see, and thank you for sharing about this Seagrass Breakthrough Initiative, that such a small office is able to create this, or to start this global initiative. So yes, talking about seagrass, this takes us on to you, Yasmin. You are the manager of this really cool project called the Seagrass Ecosystem Services Project. And this is a project that's funded by ICI, the International Climate Initiative, a German initiative. Yasmin, as project manager, could you tell us a bit what have been the most valuable insights that this project has brought to us? What could you share with us today?
Thank you so much, Lauren. But before I start, I share your excitement that we are going to have a global initiative. And if you're interested as to where it all started, it started from the Seagrass Ecosystem Service Project, which we are implementing in the 5 countries in Southeast Asia. And thank you so much to the International Climate Initiative to see and give a stage to this ecosystem, which is somehow underrepresented, seagrass ecosystem. Maybe I bring you some numbers that will explain. Just 0.1% of seagrass bed, this ecosystem has the potential of 18% blue carbon in the ocean. And if you're thinking of climate without biodiversity, you are leaving one important factor behind, because it is 20% of the vital fisheries of the world that depends on this ecosystem. And in case you are a lover of dugongs and sea turtles and other vulnerable species, this is the ecosystem that is there. So how could you disconnect climate and biodiversity? But talking would not help. You need action on the ground. And we are here to tell you and share with you that, yes, we did it. In 5 countries in Southeast Asia, we managed to fill the critical gaps. What was this project trying to aim? We started with 4 pillars. Work on policy. We worked with local stakeholders, national, provincial level government. We engaged in policies, how to get conservation, marine protected areas. It might surprise you that only 26% of the global seagrass is under marine protected areas. You might match this figure with corals and mangroves, which is like 40 to 50%. First, policy integration. How are you going to work there? Science. Policy needs science. The critical gap is the information on seagrass, where it exists, how much blue carbon it stores, how much is the biodiversity dependent. That's what we did. We worked with the local NGOs. We brought scientific experts together, and then they worked through participatory methods, citizen science. I'm very delighted to share with you, we have data from 3 out of the 5 countries we have had worked with. This is an achievement. Business model. You have communities dependent on fisheries. How are you going to work if you're not going to think of the alternative livelihood you're going to provide to them? We worked with them. We asked them what would work. They identified ecotourism, spirulina. Some of these initiatives would work. And that's where we engaged with private sector. We are building their capacities. We are bringing in the alternative livelihood system. As I started, seagrass does not get recognition. We had to work on communication. We had to raise its awareness. And here again, we are bringing the voice of these local communities through participatory videos. So awareness raising is also fourth very critical pillar of this project. As you might see and you might hear, that I am telling you very confidently that if you capture on these four critical elements, you can work on it. If mangroves and corals stands as the crown of the ocean, seagrass is the intestine. So work on this vital ecosystem. But as I say, it's just the beginning. And thank you that we are not stopping here. We are having to go ahead with this global initiative. I'm very excited, and I must give it back to you, Lauren. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Yasmin. I mean, that really is a big and very encompassing project. It's talking about biodiversity, and we can see impacts also on resilience, on coastal communities, so it's quite encompassing. If I could also maybe ask you, so in terms of valuable lessons that you take from this project, would you say maybe this of working with the communities?
Yes, very good question, Lauren. Challenges. What are the challenges ahead? First, only 5% of the countries are thinking of integrating seagrass in their nationally determined contributions, NDCs. I repeat, only 5%, whereas it's like more than 100 countries have seagrass there. That's where we have to start thinking about, seize the opportunity of revising the NDCs, revising your national biodiversity plans and BSAPs. That's where bring seagrass in. This is gonna stand first challenge. Second challenge we met is like, how do you capacitate the local community? If you wish to ensure sustainability, you have to capacitate the local communities in terms of monitoring, measuring, protecting, and how you raise that capacity. We have academicians training the community, the NGOs, and I must tell you that they share their excitement. They're like, we were not sure we are gonna make it. We will be able to transfer these complex technical information to local NGOs. So we start from there. So this is gonna remain another challenge. How do you do it? So I would say, think globally, but act locally. And if we are able to do that, challenges would sustain, but we will be able to really focus on the ecosystem, which will make a change with minimal efforts. Thank you.
Yes, okay. Yeah, thank you, Yasmin. I mean, all these numbers, very impressive. Clearly, so seagrass really is underrepresented in policy and undervalued. So Germany is really, through this international climate initiative, really enabling this project, right, as a donor. So Philip, I turn to you now. Could you tell us a bit about Germany and the role it's by backing projects like this? How is it helping countries around the world? If you want to also mention another example other than this project, how is it helping countries meet their targets in terms of biodiversity and climate?
Yes, first of all, thanks a lot for having me here. It's a great pleasure. As you said, I am in charge of the International Climate Initiative. That is the International Climate Initiative. The ICI is part of our German climate finance, and we are implementing it with 3 ministries. I'm with a ministry that is in charge of economic affairs, climate action, and energy. And we are doing that jointly with our friends from the Ministry for the Environment as well as Foreign Affairs. So that's already part of the approach that we are having, that we follow this integrated approach, focusing on 4 funding areas, which are mitigation, adaptation, conservation of natural carbon sinks, and conservation of biodiversity. So in my role of the ICI responsibility, I had the great pleasure to also visit this project at the coast of Thailand. And I can say that this was really, really impressive to me. Not only did I learn a lot about seagrass that I did not know, it's also about the role that seagrass has or should have. Jasmine, well, actually gave us all the facts, that it stores a huge amount of carbon. It also reduces the wave energy by 40%. It provides the environment for an incredible number of species, including these lovely creatures, the dugongs. So that's actually the best thing, the best project to represent what we think of in the IKI. It contributes to all our funding priorities. So that is the first thing. The second thing is that the work with the communities is also very impressive. Jasmine just mentioned it, but it was just great to see that you had the representatives from the village, the Association of Fishermen, the local authorities, all proudly presenting their part in this project, their part and their role in preserving and also restoring seagrass. And third is the regional approach that we follow with many projects in the IKI, especially in topics where it makes a lot of sense to work regional. And there is probably no topic which is where it makes so much sense as with seagrass, to have this interconnection between the different states in the region. And those three elements are just key part of, we think, how IKI should work. And then it's also connected to small businesses. And the next challenge or task would be to think how to scale up projects like that, how to get like business, maybe bigger business, more money, also private money on board to get that mobilized and make sure that such a not so small but still small project can be scaled up to a larger approach. And it's just great to hear about the efforts on the breakthrough. It's a great success. My congratulations. But I really think that having learned so much about seagrass, it is a huge untapped potential, and many states should consider not only integrating it into their NDCs and SB subs, it's also part of increasing their commitment under the UNFCCC, under the CBD, but also the SDGs. So for me and my colleagues from the other ministries, it was a great pleasure to see so many also engaged people working in the project and being so successful. So I think that's a great prototype for how we see IKI projects. Knowing that we have so many different projects, we make a lot with where we try to also bring together the ideas of energy and environment. We are having just starting a couple of projects on agri-photovoltaic, where we want to make sure that the use of agriculture is combined with the increase of renewables that we definitely need, and which is a big topic here, supported by Germany at the COP. So thank you very much again.
Okay. Thank you. And Philip, also, if I could then, as we have some time, so IKI does have an interest, it seems, in building resilience of communities. Is there any, in case we have any other members in the audience that are maybe potential donors for projects like this, are there any recommendations you could share in terms of what these donors should maybe look out for in financing a project like this, maybe in terms of the communities or the type of approach, bottom up? Is there anything you could recommend?
I can just tell you how we are approaching this. We are working on the basis of competition, so we are predefining priorities, and then we are asking for ideas, and in the end we select the best ideas. We're just launching our next call today, by the way. And for our large-scale projects, we expect them to be implemented by consortia. So you need to have more than one implementing organization, and 50% of the funding need to go to national or local implementing organizations, so that we can make sure that this is not only going to huge, I don't know, international or German implementing organizations, but that we also increase the network in the region on the local level, and include the local communities.
Okay, great, thank you. That's very interesting, and I hope it's also helpful for any other potential organizations that may be here with us today. So yeah, it's clear that seagrass and EKI, they're working together and creating synergies, and it's clear that EAD, CMS, all of us are connected somehow. We're all trying to work on climate and biodiversity, and we're coming together, and this is a real example of synergistic action happening. So I hope that the audience here today can take this as a lesson, that we have the UAE, Abu Dhabi, working to create synergies on climate, biodiversity. We have CMS trying to fight the impacts of climate change on raptors and dugongs and their habitats. We have the Seagrass Ecosystem Project, which is really working with communities, and it's having the backing of a country that's being very generous in supporting these efforts. So this really is an example of how national and intergovernmental organizations can work together and create something synergistic, which fits, I mean, it's the reason why we're here today to discuss this. So I really hope that we can all go home today with this real example, and that it can inspire others to come together with collective action and build similar type of partnerships and collaboration. So that brings us to a close today, and I really would like us to all have an applause for our panelists for sharing all their insights with us today, and with our audience for being present. So thank you very much to everyone.
Yeah, thanks.
A photo. Okay, we're being asked to take a photo. Closer. Here? Okay, we have to turn our badges for.
Yasmin, come closer. Yasmin, come closer.
Okay.